Hey, yo, Polly, your sister's with me. I'll call you later. I got heart, but I ain't got no locker, do I, Mick?
Dipper needed it. Dipper's a contender. You know what you are? You're a tomato.
You know, I've been coming here for 6 years, and 6 years you've been sticking it to me. I want to know how come.
You want to know? I want to know. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Because you had the talent to become a great fighter. Instead of that, you became a leg breaker. Some cheap second-rate loan shark.
It's a living.
It's a waste of life.
Good evening, folks. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we're going a little outside the box of the horror genre and the sci-fi genre and all that. And we're doing the top 10 Sylvester Stallone movies. I was inspired to do this by Rob's Reviews, so if you guys haven't checked out Rob's channel, definitely check out Rob's Reviews. He's got all kinds of great content. And he did his top 10 Sylvester Stallone movies, and I just got really inspired. I was like, yeah, I gotta do this, because as a kid, I absolutely loved Sylvester Stallone. I watched all his movies. I wanted to be like Sylvester Stallone. I wanted to be Rambo. I wanted to be Rocky, you know. I still love his movies to this day, so I just thought this would be a fun thing to do. So, first off, I'm going to do some honorable mentions. First one's going to be Rocky 2. Rocky 2, Sylvester Stallone took over the directing duties in that film. I think he did a fantastic job. Yeah, I really loved Rocky 2. It's just a great sequel. It's very dramatic still. Yeah, it wasn't like an action movie like the franchise later became once you get into Rocky 3 and 4 and all that. It becomes like action movies, where this one still had the heavy drama, a lot of tension, a lot of heavy stuff. And I really liked the film. Next one will be the film Rocky Balboa. Now, what's great about this film is Rocky's, performance. The performance by Sylvester Stallone, once again, as Rocky, and I felt like it was a good ending chapter to that character, the Rocky story. Yeah, later on they did Creed and Creed 2, but that's more a spin-off of Rocky. That's not about Rocky. It's about Adonis Creed and Rocky training him and stuff. But I felt like the last hurrah for Sylvester Stallone as Rocky in his own franchise was solid, It could have been a lot better. I think a lot of the acting was very campy and wasn't very good, but what's great is Sylvester Stallone's performances, no doubt about it. He really tugged at the heartstrings at certain scenes, he did a great job. And of course he's got that famous speech, life ain't all sunshine and rainbows. You gotta learn how to take the hits and keep moving forward. And a lot of people love that speech. Next honorable mention would be Over the Top. What a fun movie about arm wrestling. Who knew a movie about arm wrestling could be so much fun? And you had Terry Funk making an appearance in there. Stallone showing his wrestling. He's a big fan of wrestling. You see some wrestlers in his movies, Another example is Paradise Alley. It was about wrestling. It was like Rocky, except it was wrestling, and he was the trainer of this wrestler guy, And again, Terry Funk was in there, And another honorable mention would be Rambo: First Blood Part 2. Excellent sequel, and this one was just all about the action one. The first one was more of like an action thriller, and had some heavy dramatic elements in it too as well. But the second one was just over the top, crazy action all over the place, and it was a lot of fun. So that's it for honorable mentions. So now let's get to the top 10 Sylvester Stallone movies. Number 10 is going to be The Lords of Flatbush. That's right, one of his earliest films. Yeah, he definitely wasn't a star at this time. He was just kind of breaking into the business at this time. But he was also in the film with Henry Winkler. He was part of this gang called the Lords of Flatbush, and was like a group of greaser type characters, much like you see in The Outsiders, the Greasers, or the movie Grease with John Travolta. Yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I think Sylvester Stallone did a good job in the film. One of my favorite scenes is when him and his buddy go like punch for punch, and I remember as a kid in college I did that with my college buddies, and you just keep punching each other in the arm until until you can't take it anymore. And I love like his reaction. He really starts to get pissed off, like he sees blood boiling as they keep doing it, Next up, number 9 is going to be The Expendables, which is so much fun. I thought it was a great idea, bringing all these great action stars together in one movie. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger make an appearance, and Bruce Willis make an appearance, and you got one of today's biggest action stars, Jason Statham, who I love. You had Jet Li in there, showing the martial arts. You had Dolph Lundgren in there from Rocky IV, such a fun movie. You had Stone Cold Steve Austin, and there's a great story on that, because Stone Cold Steve Austin, like, broke Stallone's neck during the making of the movie when they were doing the fight scenes. And I love when you see the interviews on the Blu-ray, and Steve Austin is like, well, when Sylvester Stallone tells you to kick the shit out of him, you kick the shit out of him. I love that. Number 8 is Tango and Cash. Yes. Stallone and Kurt Russell. It's like the buddy cop film. One of my favorite buddy cop movies. It's just so much fun. You see they're just having a great time, playing off each other. Him and Kurt Russell have great chemistry, and they just spout the one-liners left and right. It's a lot of funny stuff. Oh shit, it's Conan! And then the dude's like, back in the pen, this guy broke my leg, my ribs, and my jaw. And Kurt Russell's like, you broke that jaw? This guy's got this huge jaw. A lot of fun stuff. What are you doing in there with Queen for a day? A lot of good stuff. And, okay, in that number 7 is going to be Creed. That's right. This spin-off of the Rocky series, which still has Rocky in it, played brilliantly by Sylvester Stallone. And one of his greatest performances, he was nominated for an Oscar for his performance as Rocky, which is amazing. All these years later, that people just still love Rocky, and I'll tell you something, Stallone knows that character inside and out, because he created that character. So, yeah, that's one thing he knows how to do for sure, and that's play Rocky, and he did a phenomenal job in Creed. Creed's a fantastic movie. Who knew? I remember when I first heard that they were coming out with this spin-off movie about Apollo Creed's son. I'm like, they closed it out pretty good with Rocky Balboa. Why are they dragging this thing on and on, Who knew? It's a great movie, So next up is going to be Cliffhanger. Number 6 is Cliffhanger. Just a fantastic action movie. At the time when Cliffhanger was coming out, his career was kind of, going downhill. He had some string of bombs for a while, but this one put him right back in the mix of things. Just a thrilling action film, and he did a lot of the stunts in the film. He's hanging from the, wire, some seriously dangerous stuff. And number 5 is going to be Cobra. Love Cobra, such an excellent movie. I never knew that Sylvester Stallone was actually supposed to star in Beverly Hills Cop, and but he didn't want any of the comedy elements in the film, so he decided to go another route, and he ended up making Cobra, which is what he wanted Beverly Hills Cop to be, and Eddie Murphy ended up doing that, of course. But I'm glad, because Cobra is a badass movie, and Cabretti is such a badass cop, and he's got some classic lines, and this film almost feels like a slasher movie. It's almost like a horror film. It's got horror elements, for sure. And he got Brigitte Nielsen starring alongside of him. Yeah, I love his gun. He's got the Cobra signal, and he's just the definition of a badass cop you don't want to mess with, you know. And he's not afraid to kill to get the job done, you know. He'll do whatever it takes to take out the bad guy. It's almost like the Punisher, if you ever read the comics, you know. He's almost like the Punisher in a way. Number 4 is going to be a very underrated film, and that is Lock Up. Just an awesome film where he gets imprisoned wrongfully. He's an innocent man, and he meets this warden played by Donald Sutherland, who's this real hard ass who pretty much tortures him throughout the film. He's like ends up being his ultimate nemesis. And it's just an awesome movie. I think it's some great drama, some great tension. It's just really entertaining. Number 3 is going to be Copland, which is definitely one of Sylvester Stallone's best dramatic performances. Now, Stallone isn't known really for his dramatic acting, you know. He's more known as the action guy, the 80s action hero, you know, because of Rambo and Rocky and all that. But in Copland, he played this small-town sheriff. You know, he put on like 40 pounds of weight, you know, and that must have been hard for him because, you know, Stallone is always in peak shape, you know. But here he gained weight, got a big beer gut, you know, to play this sheriff of this small town. And there's all these cops that live there, you know, in this small town, and there's a lot of corruption going on, and there's a murder mystery going on. And it turns out these cops are somehow involved in it. And they kind of like push him around, you know. They say, you know, once he starts trying to investigate the crime, you know, he feels a lot of, you know, pushback, you know, from the police. You know, and he finds out that they're very corrupt, and he does whatever he can to take them down, you know. He finally takes a stand again, and he's very kind of a quiet, shy kind of guy. Real polite, but you know, they push him too far, and he stands his ground at the end, you know. It's just an excellent movie. And number 2 is going to be my favorite action film of all time, and that is First Blood. Hell yeah. The first appearance of John Rambo from the Special Forces. Green Beret, winner of the Congressional Medal of Honor. God didn't make Rambo. I made him. You don't seem to understand that you're dealing with an expert in guerrilla warfare. With a man who's the best with guns, with knives, with his bare hands. Trained to eat things that'll make a billy goat puke. To kill. Period. You gotta love Richard Crenna as Colonel Troutman. I love that guy. So many great characters in this movie. You got Brian Dennehy as pretty much Rambo's nemesis, the sheriff of this small town, you know, and he treats Rambo when he's coming through town, you know, just passing through. He treats him like a piece of garbage, and this guy who's a war hero, and you see him in his army fatigue, and he's like putting him down, saying the way he looks, saying he smells, and you know, you need to take a bath, and, and he's like, we don't want people like you in this town, we don't want drifters, you know, this is a small town, we want to keep things quiet and boring, we don't need trouble around here, you know. And he tells Rambo that he can't stop even to get something to eat. You know, he just takes him from one side of the town into the entrance of the next town, and Rambo's like disgraced. You know, like, who the hell are you to tell me what I can do? You know, and then he strolls right back into town, and that starts the whole movie. You know, it's like you mess with the wrong guy. You know, don't push it. Don't push it or I'll give you a war you won't believe. You gotta love his speech at the end, you know, after Rambo just creates complete havoc throughout the town, you know. You see him in the woods taking out every cop one by one. But the funny thing, he never kills anybody in the film. He just like maims them, messes them up, busts them up, you know. But he takes them all out. but he never actually kills anyone. There is one sheriff that dies, but it's because of his own stupidity. So yeah, he just uses all his skills that he learned in Vietnam. And of course you gotta love his speech at the end. Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off. Wasn't my war. You asked me, I didn't ask you. We did what I had to do to win. But someone wouldn't let us win. And I come back to the world, see these maggots protesting me, spitting, calling me baby killer and all kinds of vile crap. Who are they, huh? Unless they've been me and been there and know what the hell they're yelling about. Oh my god, I love First Blood. The funny thing about First Blood is he's kind of the bad guy in this movie. You know, he's not the hero. He's a guy who's suffering from PTSD, from trauma, you know, that he experienced in the Vietnam War. And he basically just kind of goes crazy and loses his mind and takes it out on this small town, you know, and basically terrorized the town, going around the M60, shooting at the police station. But it's awesome. It's an absolutely awesome, awesome movie. It's my favorite action film of all time. And it's no secret, I'm sure, to any of you what the #1 pick is, and that is, yo Adrian, it's me, Rocky. The original Rocky. Hell freaking yeah. An absolutely amazing film. I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made, and it's my favorite drama of all time. And yes, the original Rocky to me is a drama. It's not an action film. And it's just chock-filled with amazing characters, fantastic acting, amazing performances from Sylvester Stallone as Rocky, from Burgess Meredith, from Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, Talia Shire as Adrian, Burt Young as Paulie. Just an amazing array of characters. It's so incredibly well written, and you've got to give all the credit to Sylvester Stallone because he came up with the story of Rocky, he came up with the character of Rocky, and I love the fact that they wanted like a big-time actor to play Rocky, like a Paul Newman or a Robert De Niro or whatever, but he stuck to his guns. He says, no, I'm playing Rocky, this is my character, you know, and thank God, because I cannot possibly imagine anyone else playing Rocky Balboa. He just owns that character. Such an amazing story about a young, down on his luck, you know, boxer who's just, you know, kind of slumming it in small little arenas, local boxing matches, just fighting for peanuts, getting $40 for a fight, you know, and unbelievable. Is spitting blood for peanuts, you know, and just Lady Luck comes calling. Apollo Creed, who's the champion boxer of the world, decides he wants to make a spectacle because he's got a big match coming out, and the guy backed out because he didn't have enough time to get in shape. So he's like, you know what, I'm going to do a spectacle. I'm going to face the Italian Stallion versus Apollo Creed, the master of disaster. He wants to make it like a big spectacle and take a no-name talent and give him a massive opportunity. And that's what happens. Apollo Creed comes calling, and he picks Rocky out of all the fighters in the world. Like, he's not even ranked, but just because of his cool name, the Italian Stallion. And he's going to fight him on Columbus Day, when the Italians who discovered America, you know. So he comes out, makes a big spectacle, wears the big American flag hat and the American flag robe, and he comes out dressed like George Washington. Apollo Creed is just an amazing character, very intimidating villain, but once the fight comes down to it, he's all business, and, you know, Carl Weathers is jacked, ripped to shreds, you know, and he pummels Rocky the entire fight, you know. It's just an amazing, amazing film. Everything about it. It's just filled with amazing lines, unforgettable characters, unforgettable lines. The score is amazing. I mean, how can you forget that score? It just gets you hyped up, and it gets you so inspired that you want to go out there and kick someone's ass.